All right, hello everybody, and welcome to our first episode of our series of learning the Bible stories that our children are learning in our episodes of Faithfully Creative Kids. So this week our kids have been learning about the story of Sarah and Abraham and how they became pregnant at the age of 90 with Isaac. So I thought that we would take some time to dig into the Bible ourselves a little bit. This will be, quick, about 5 minutes or so that us as parents can get a better understanding of the story, and also give you some resources on where you can read in the Bible to just look more into it yourself. But so basically, the story of Sarah and Abraham is a story that really blew me away. If you saw the intro to this whole series, you know that I don't really know that much about the Bible, and this is kind of my effort to learn more for myself and also for my children. So I had to do a lot of research to try to learn more about this story, and I have to say I took more notes on this story than I probably have taken in the history of me reading anything in the Bible, so that I'm hoping I can bring to you a quick solid overview of the story. So today we can get going, I guess. So Sarah and Abraham, I knew Sarah had a baby when she was old. I did not know that she was 90 years old when she had a baby. I mean, a blessing, a total blessing. But I have to say the first thought that comes to my mind is, oh my gosh, 90 years old. I had kids when I was in my late 20s and early 30s, and Lord have mercy, it was hard on my body. It is hard mentally. I mean, it's a challenge sprinkled in with so many great things, but still, it's a challenge. So to think about being 90 and having this, that just blew me away. But then also the side of, I can't imagine how wonderful it must feel to have waited all those years and decades to have a baby, and finally at 90 years old you're blessed with a baby. On the surface it sounds like the whole story played out great, but as you dig into the story, and as I dug into the story, I see there was a lot of problems and heartache that played in before it ever got to the amazing blessing of Isaac being born. So what ended up happening is, you'll learn in the story, if you do read it yourself, start in Genesis 12 to about Genesis 17. What you will see is that Sarah was barren. She was not able to have children, and it was clear. I mean, she was how old and still not able to have kids? I can't imagine wanting a kid so bad and not being able to have one. And then on top of it, I learned that Abraham, in I think Genesis 12 it was, God spoke to Abraham and basically told him that he was going to have a great nation come from him. The verse actually goes, I will make you into a great nation and I will bless you. I will make your name great and you will be a blessing. So here's Sarah, not able to have a baby. And Abraham tells her that this is what God has shared with him. I can't imagine that feeling of defeat, that feeling of not being good enough because you can't possibly, or she feels like she can't possibly be a part in fulfilling this promise from God. So what Sarah ends up doing is she goes to Abraham and she tells him that, hey, basically the only way to fulfill God's promise to you is for you to have a child with someone else. So she has a slave whose name is Hagar. I believe it is how it is pronounced, but again, it might not be. Like I said, I'm learning here. But so she basically tells Abraham to marry her and to have a child with her, and they do. They end up having a son, and it is, from what you read in the Bible, it is just hard. I mean, there's a lot of tension between Sarah and Hagar. Sarah sounds like she can be pretty brutal to Hagar, to the point that Hagar ends up running away and God tells her to come back. But just a lot of heartache, deception, all sorts of things, because Sarah kind of stepped in the way of God's plan and tried to play it out herself. She thought this was the only way to make it possible. So how the story goes is then Sarah is 89 years old. By this time, Abraham's son is 14 years old. And I can't imagine, 14 years of all of this. But so at 89 years old, Abraham tells Sarah that again God came to him and told him that a great nation will come from him, and that a year from then Sarah would have a baby. Abraham is still kind of blown away by this because he fully understands that his body is just not capable, and neither is Sarah's. In Romans chapter 14, verse 19, it says, "Without weakening in his faith, he faced the fact that his body was as good as dead, since he was about 100 years old, and that Sarah's womb was also dead." So to know this, but yet to still have this belief that yes, God is going to bless you with this baby, and sure enough, a year later, Isaac is born, and it's just an amazing story. It actually talks about how Sarah, when she was told she was going to have Isaac, laughs, and it's not this laugh of like, that's hilarious, that's never going to happen. It's this laugh of joy, just pure joy. And it took me a little bit to think about that, because I feel like laughter to me is always just a funny thing, but there are circumstances in my life where like something was so amazing it actually brought me to have like a joyful laugh about it. But so at the age of 100, Abraham is a father again to Isaac, and God fulfills his promise to them. I think the amazing thing about this is that no matter how much they failed and sinned and just couldn't get things right, God still had his promise play out to them. And also how neat that God waited until it was literally impossible for Sarah to have a baby. That it showed this baby, Isaac, was a blessing and came from God, because it was a supernatural birth, and it is the only way that it could be possible is through God. So how amazing. But so that is the story of Sarah and Abraham. Again, it is an up and down roller coaster. But ultimately, God's promise was fulfilled, and we'll learn as we continue going on in this series that a great nation did come from Abraham. So I hope you guys enjoyed the story today. If you have any comments, please comment below. If you have any questions, please ask them too. I'm more than happy to do more research and digging into this to find any answers you might have. And I hope you like this series. So yeah, hopefully we are learning and growing together, and that's all we can ask for. So have a great day. Bye.